ex's husband mocked me for being a worthless dealer until he realized who paid his salary. Walking into my 10-year reunion, I knew my old classmate Preston still hated me for selling the pills that nearly killed his brother. Everyone remembered me as the dealer who sold fent-laced perks to a 14-year-old kid. They didn't know I'd been clean for 7 years and now owned 13 teen-focused detox centers across 3 states. Preston spotted me the moment I walked in, and his face darkened with the same rage I remembered from the hospital waiting room. He whispered something to his wife Charlotte, my first love who'd stayed beautiful despite marrying him, while keeping his eyes locked on mine. When I approached to pay respects, Preston stepped back and announced my arrival loud enough for half the room to hear. "The child poisoner's here," he said, wrapping his arm around Charlotte possessively. His voice carried across conversations, making heads turn. Charlotte touched his arm, trying to calm him, but he was already warming up for the night ahead, gathering our former classmates with gestures and pointed looks. "Remember Mikey, my little brother? This is the dealer who scrambled his brain," Preston called out once he'd assembled his audience. Their uncomfortable silence encouraged him to escalate. Charlotte's face flushed red, but when Preston turned to accept someone's sympathetic pat, she caught my eye and mouthed, "I'm so sorry," her fingers briefly brushing mine as she passed, the same gesture from when we were 17. Preston noticed and yanked her back to his side, waving off her protests and turning back to me with cold calculation, asking loudly what gutter I crawled out of. He cut me off before I could answer to announce that I probably dealt to kids at playgrounds now, unlike Charlotte, who ran a nonprofit, or his brother, who could barely hold a job stocking shelves. The room grew quieter, tension building, which seemed to remind him of something, and his eyes lit up as he pulled out his phone. The video was security footage, grainy but clear enough to show a 14-year-old boy convulsing on a bathroom floor, his body seized while foam gathered at his mouth. Preston provided commentary like a prosecutor while passing his phone around, making sure everyone got a good look at what 3 pills could do. He explained loudly how Mikey's heart stopped for 4 minutes, how brain damage was permanent, how some people destroyed children for $20, all while keeping one arm locked around Charlotte's waist. Charlotte tried to grab his phone, but he held it away from her, still playing the footage on repeat, until I finally moved toward the bathroom, my throat tight with memories I'd spent years trying to process. Preston's voice followed me across the ballroom, and I wasn't surprised when he pushed through the bathroom door with 3 former teammates, cornering me by the sinks. He found old track marks and held my arm up for inspection, asking if I'd used the same needles I'd sold to kids. The disgust on his face seemed to give him a new idea, and he gestured for me to follow him back out, promising everyone would hear what happened to Mikey after. Back in the main room, Preston had momentum now, and his voice grew stronger as the crowd grew larger. He pulled Charlotte against him, making sure I could see as he kissed her temple, a display of everything I'd lost. Then he pulled up more videos on his phone. Mikey in physical therapy, hands shaking too hard to hold parallel bars. Mikey in a hospital bed, tubes everywhere, while machines breathed for him. He turned to me directly. "Tell them what you cut them with. Tell them why my brother has seizures. Tell Charlotte why you threw away what you had for drug money." When I stayed silent, Preston's composure cracked. He wanted to be a surgeon, had the grades, had the talent. Now he can't even fucking butter toast without his hands shaking. Someone suggested moving on, but Preston was building to something, his voice breaking as he described finding Mikey's suicide note, how his baby brother apologized for being a burden, for costing too much in medical bills, for not dying when he should have. Charlotte had tears in her eyes now, looking between Preston and me like she was trapped in our history. By the time the crowd reached 30 people, Preston had positioned himself at the center of the room with his champagne raised. He called for everyone's attention, waiting until the room quieted, and all eyes turned to us, savoring the moment like a prosecutor's closing statement. "I want to make a toast to consequences. Some people sell poison to children, others live with brain damage forever. And sometimes," he looked at Charlotte, then at me, "karma gives you everything they lost." He stared directly at me, while people uncomfortably shifted their weight. "I'm opening treatment centers next year, real ones, where 14-year-olds don't have to learn what fentanyl does to developing brains." Preston was mid-toast when he told his assistant to call the Metro Detox owner about tomorrow's 13-location acquisition deal. Still staring at me, my phone rang. I answered it in front of everyone. "This is the owner. Cancel all acquisition talks with Preston's investment group. All 13 locations." Preston's champagne glass shattered on the floor as he stared at my phone, his face draining while his assistant's confused voice came through his speaker. Charlotte covered her mouth with both hands, tears spilling over as she finally understood everything. Full story on channel, link below.